Stooner Nation, Thunder Nation, we are back. This is the Just Okay Sports Podcast. That's Just Oklahoma Sports Podcast. I'm one of your village idiots, Daryl, here with my brother Jared. If you end up liking this thing, please like, subscribe, follow, leave a 5-star review, comment, blah, 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 all that stuff. Make us sound great, whatever. Anyways, we're a bunch of idiots. Jared, how are you?
I'm good. I'm great. You know, we always gotta talk about the weather. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's been a good time. This week's been fun, man. It's been like I'm still riding the high off that game.
I am too. I am too.
So there's like a lot of things going on right now. It's that time of year where you got like a lot of things going on, like you start building up towards like Thanksgiving, Christmas. So you don't know what you're gonna do. But I do know one thing. I do know two things actually.
Okay.
One, Oklahoma only fears God, and two, Texas fears Oklahoma. That's what I know. That's what I know.
Thank you for not saying that in a way where I have to go back and edit. I very much appreciate that. So
I really want to. So I want to give myself. I'm going to pat myself on the back, because I really want to. But yeah, dude. That's like the storyline of the week. Like, what's crazy? Okay, so like we're talking everybody. Somehow, if you've been living under a rock and don't have any social,
if you're not one of the 8.5 million people who have watched this video,
yeah. What's funny is, like I was telling you before the pod, like I've seen other people from other fan bases like retweeting and being like, dude, I'm an OU fan now. Like I'm cheering for him. Dude, it was such a good, the quality on it is just is so good. The cinematic, we were talking about it. Like everybody's talking about the Danny thing, and that is a phenomenal like pregame speech. Shout out to Danny and all that stuff. And he's got his own shirts. So make sure you go to support him because he's doing it in collaboration. So I've seen some other people make shirts of it. But if you're gonna do it, support the guy that said it, I would say. But like I was saying, I want the shirt of the Farouk standing in front of all the orange smoke. Like that is just such a like that is such a crazy good pick. I don't know why. It's like cinematic. It literally, I told you, like the shot of him walking through them all was like the Dark Knight, and that's very much again Dark Knight or like superhero. You know what I mean? Like just a good shot. Anyway. I'm hyped from it. I'm hyped. Like my hype was already that was like I'm already hyped, and then you just shoved a general adrenaline into my veins. Like I'm so freaking pumped. And we're on a bye week, dude. You know, this kind of sucks.
I know, right? It is a bye week. And I mean, honestly, I was like, when we did the kind of emergency celebration pod, I was like, well, we won't pod this week because it's bye week. But then it's like each day I'm just like, there's more I still want to talk about from this game.
Yeah.
Like I can't not do it.
Yeah, I mean, and we still have the Texas fans are in their feelings real bad. They down real bad.
Yeah. Well, real funny. Speaking of highlight videos, which we'll talk about here in a minute, but so all week, Tal, my son, your nephew, kept playing. There's a song by this guy named Tommy Prophet called Enemy. It was literally the theme song all week. Every time he and I were in the car together, he's like, Dad, let's do it. And he'd play that. And literally it just keeps like, it has like this really slow kind of eerie, you are my enemy, you are my enemy. And then all of a sudden it like hits this massive beat drop. And then it says, this ends now. And like Tal's like, we've got to make a highlight video. And he like the scene you talked about, like with Farouk, with those guys, like just running past him. He's like, that part, Dad, if you played that part where it said, this is my enemy, and those guys are coming by in slow motion. And then he's like, and then just all the turnovers, like when it says this ends now, it's all the like the fumbles, the interceptions, the stuff at the goal line.
That's my freaking nephew.
Dude, I'm like, you're not wrong, dude.
You know what? When you get in the car tomorrow, I know he's not going to care. When you get in the car, tell him Uncle Jared's proud of him. Tell him Uncle Jared's proud of him. Hey, he's a chip off the old block. But yeah, I mean, dude, there's so much content from that.
Oh, it's so great. Well, so let's back up. So we kind of did like an in our emotions, in our feelings. Like we all literally were riding high and yet emotionally exhausted after watching that game.
I literally had to take a nap after the game. Yes.
We're 3 days later. You've had a chance to just kind of sit, think through it a little bit more. Is there anything since then that's kind of stood out to you more that you've thought about or just kind of take away from that game?
I mean, we talked about it a little bit, and I've gone back. I've actually watched the game. I wouldn't say that I did like necessarily complete film study on it or anything, but I watched the game again. Caden Green's got to see the field if he keeps playing like that.
Yeah.
It's a totally different. I mean, that dude, if he plays like that consistently, like bro, like he's gonna be an All American. Like that dude is
Yeah.
like he took Sweat several times and put him on his butt.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean that's a big thing. And then it's just, I mean, it's like the thing that we kind of I don't think we really talked about a lot is like we kind of mentioned it a little bit, but it's like I really noticed it when I watched the game again is the amount of like celebration from both sides of the team when something good would happen or when something bad, even when something bad happened. It wasn't, it's like I kind of feel like I don't know, maybe this is me reading into it too much, but it's like I feel like towards the end of the Lincoln era, there was like that feeling of like the offense knew the defense wasn't going to be able to do anything. So when they came off the field, it was just like, okay, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? And like, there just was a whole feel of that, like on the sidelines. And then the other thing is just like I said, we saw no fear from anybody.
Yeah.
Ethan Downs played out of his mind. We've talked about that, but like, it's like really when you go across that board, it's like you kind of talked about it. So I don't want to steal your thunder because I'm sure it's something you're going to want to talk about. But it's like, dude, there's so many guys that have never played in this game
Yeah.
that went in that game and actually balled out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And didn't it was like the moment wasn't too big, and that was a rowdy, like it really, really got rowdy. Especially when they went up at the end of the
Hmm.
game. It's like it would have been easy for Caden Green to fold like a lawn chair because it's like it really intense.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he went and did his job. Just as an example. So um honestly, and again, like I went through and kind of did a tally. I did kind of tally up as I went. By my estimation, we probably left about, I would say, like a total of like 17 points on the board, or off the board. Sorry. Like I think that somewhere roundabouts. So it's like honestly, I do feel like the scoreboard doesn't show exactly how dominant OU was really. Now,
Hmm.
another caveat I will give to that though is Quinn Ewers played out of his freaking mind. As much
Yeah.
as people want to dog on him for his turnovers, and he did have those, dude, he was like what? He like threw like 19 straight completions or 20 straight completions. I don't remember,
Yeah.
but I mean,
Yeah.
after he had that rocky start, like it again, I like as much as I don't want to give a shout out to a Texas fan, we're past the emotional part. The dude played lights out after that in the passing
Yeah.
game. Like he couldn't have done really much more than what he did. So,
No, but I will say too, like a lot of it was swing, bubble,
mhm.
um, you know, and I think that's what Teddy Lehman was kind of getting at right before the game when he kind of slammed isn't the right word, but
Yeah, he didn't
kind
have
of
like
would
well,
talk.
but we didn't see any deep balls,
Not very
right?
many. I could only think of two. I could think of two deep balls that they really
That's what I'm saying.
dropped in
Like
the game.
that's what I'm saying though. Is like I feel like even last year. I mean, last year's a totally different game and all that, but it's like I feel like at times last year we would see them trying to kind of take the top off with their
Hmm.
guys. Like they have Worthy and all that sort of stuff, and they have a bunch of guys that can. But they didn't really do it in this game. I mean, like you said, they took a couple of shots, kind of, but not really anything. It wasn't anything. Even when they did, it wasn't that thing that really made it so the defense had to be like, oh, okay, hang on a second. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it just felt
Yeah.
like
I
really
was
keeping it in front of him.
shocked. It's shocking to me that they didn't attempt more. I mean, Worthy dude can freaking fly, man. Like,
Mm-hmm.
how do you not give that guy at least a chance? So I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I do want to piggyback, and you kind of mentioned it for me, and I texted this to you guys the other day, and I probably am missing some, right? But like,
Mm-hmm.
when you think about legit contributors in that game, right? Desan McCullough, Gentry Williams, Peyton Bowen, Jaron Canick, uh, Bothroyd, Ford, Kendall Dolby, Pearson, Rouse, Everett, Green, Andrell Anthony, Anderson, Terry, DG, Shea, all those players played significant snaps and roles in that game and had never played in that game.
Well,
And
and
like
Kanik
we say
and
this all the
Kanik did,
time, like, go ahead. Sorry.
and I was just gonna say, and even Kanik didn't play a ton last year, if I remember correctly. Like I know
He
he
didn't
played in the
play.
game, but
He did not play.
oh, he didn't play. Okay, I thought he played
He
like
did not play.
a few
Not
series.
and maybe special teams. Maybe special teams.
Yeah,
But that's it. Like he didn't and so to come out in that game and just play like you said, no flinching, no fear, no, the moment was not too big for any of them. And look, again, I point that out because as an OU fan, if I'm looking at Texas's roster and I said, dude, they got 20 guys that never played in this game before. Like, we got this in the back, especially quarterback, right? That's never now. Granted, DG was on the sidelines and all that stuff, but that's not the same as being
not
in
only
the
that,
mix and out there.
that like kudos. I mean, again, the drive. Everybody's just gonna call it the drive. I think, dude. Like he went in there and did that. Like I said, and that stadium was rowdy for
Yeah.
that series. I mean,
Yep.
really for the whole the whole second half, it got pretty rowdy. So,
Yeah.
kudos.
Yeah. I mean, that was incredible. You mentioned too, I mean, the more I watch that game, man, Ethan Downs played out of his mind. I thought that was very noticeable, and he just popped off the screen. I said it on Saturday, but I'm going to keep saying it. Gentry Williams, like everybody keeps talking about Peyton Bowen's a superstar, and he is. Mr. Gentry Williams is a superstar. Like,
Yes.
do you realize if they don't overturn the fumble, that he has 2 fumble recoveries in the game and an interception?
Yeah.
I mean, like, what what else do we want from this guy? Like, he is leading the team in turnovers. Like, he is around the ball constantly. We have not seen anybody beat him deep, which they shouldn't. The guy has Olympic track speed. He looks like a freaking SEC defensive back. He's tackling with physicality. Like, he is so, like, thinking about the future of him and Peyton Bowen back there is just unbelievable to think about.
Yeah, Gentry had a crazy good game. I mean,
yeah.
And like I said, and Peyton obviously too. I mean, those guys like
yeah, Peyton forces another turnover by knocking the ball out on the tackle, right?
And like Peyton, it's just like again, like you can just watch those guys and like when you see them on the field, there's just no it goes back to the Brent Venables press conference where they were like, you can't practice, you can't see much. He's like, yeah, you can.
Oh, that was awesome that everybody was reposting that.
Yeah. And it's like, but honestly, like when you watch this game, it's like I feel like he really did because nobody like when you see guys like when they do the low field shots and stuff, there's those times where you can see like somebody's face and it just kind of like they look a little shook, you know what I mean? Or they look like the moment's there. And everybody was just dialed in. Everybody was just there and present and ready to do their job. And like Peyton Bowen was one of those guys. Like there's a shot where like I think they like had called the timeout or something happened. They went to the sideline and like they kind of were doing like the huddle shot. And you see him and it's not like he coming out. He's like, well, what do I do? What do I do? He was just like, all right, trots right back out there, just straight face, ready to do his job. I mean,
yep.
Things like that. It's like those are the major culture shifts that we're seeing under Brent Venables.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the 4th down or the 4-play stand on the goal line. I mean, that ain't happening with Grinch.
No.
Like, that ain't happening with Lincoln. Like, that just, I mean, so much. Now, I will also say this, and I'm going to say that because we'll talk about it later. But the other thing coming out of the game that we want to talk about, and you've already alluded to this too, the highlight videos that they produced that just came out, I believe, yesterday. The 7-minute recap highlight video of the whole thing.
What's funny is like the thumbnail is the dude from Barstool Sports or whatever, the Mississippi State guy.
Yes.
I forget his name. And I was like, why is Oklahoma football like that? That's how I watched it. Is like, I was like, why did they? I was like, really? They're like gonna troll that because it's just like it's such a, you don't see football programs troll somebody like that. And then like I watched it and I was like, bro, like the first like 30 seconds of that video, I was like, I'm already run. Like I'm gonna run through a brick wall. Like it's gonna happen. Um.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I mean that the speech by Danny, like what was funny is he was on Pat McAfee as well today, and I kind of watched some of the high. I wanted to know, did he prepare? Like, did he literally like write that out, or did that come to him in that? Like I think about like again, stupid high school sports, right? Like there were some of us that would rah people I never thought about what I was gonna say prior to a game. Like it was get in there and I knew I was gonna say we're gonna go win, but I would never write down for him to if he came up with on the spot, I know two things that Oklahoma fears God and Texas fears Oklahoma. I mean, bro, just it's over. Like just
dude, it's just. But I mean, the things you hear people say like in the program, because like I know we're gonna talk about this a little bit, but it was Bates, I believe, that said, what did my daddy always tell me, that you have to
you
repay
pay
with
back with urgency.
and that's money. What was it? Money, time, and a whoopings. I don't want you to have to
Yeah.
bleep
Yeah.
it.
Oh no, you don't
Uh,
have to bleep that. That is
okay.
a you can say that one. You can say
Oh,
that one.
I can say ass whooping.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
I can say
that is
ass
not
whooping. I don't
considered
know.
in the explicit version. They can say that on the radio. You can say that on the
Okay.
podcast.
Well, ass whooping then. Yeah, repay with, dude. It's like, and then like Chavis. I mean, there's so many things in this program. Like I said, that's like I've been saying about the offensive line, especially, but like the whole team as a whole is doing it. Of that lunch pail, blue collar, just go to
Hmm.
work and just absolutely out muscle people.
Did
and
you see? Have you watched the All Access yet?
yes,
Okay, when Emmett Jones in the locker room,
yeah,
did you see? They ain't ready for your mindset. Your mindset scared them. Like they were not like, dude. Like every single coach on that staff, man, it's just they were
dude. I
just
mean, and
preaching physicality and going nuts.
and it's funny because it's like every time this is like a funny thing that I notice every time I watch one of the all accesses. It's like there's not a coach on our staff that I would want to meet in a dark alley. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
we could suit up nearly every one of our coaches. Maybe not Coach B, but I don't know. Maybe he make a good center. I don't know. But you know what I mean? Like, but I mean, it's like, dude, like Emmett Jones. It's like, dude, that guy looks like he could just suit up and go out there and catch balls. Like that dude
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
But he's that intense. Like, and that's. But I think that's what Venables was talking about. Was, I mean, that's what's funny is you see that press conference where he says, yes, you can, and we need our coaches to be as intense and
Yeah.
as dialed in.
And
And then
Chavis is
like,
the one who like reposted that after the game.
yeah. And like, but like you see that or you hear that, and you're like, I think maybe like for me, it's like maybe I'm conditioned to think of, oh, it's coach speak, it's that political, I gotta rah whatever. And then it's like you see like how the coaches are in the locker room, like live footage or not live footage, but you see recording of it. And you're like, no, that's exactly how they are. Like this means as much to them. This is game 7 for them. Like this is
Yeah.
everything's on the line, every down is, and you see that. And like I said, again, the guy that just popped off like you said, popped off the screen is Ethan Downs. Is that dude? Like, I mean, he was throwing down what's probably going to be all Big 12 offensive linemen, like just throwing them to the ground and making them look silly on multiple occasions. So
Yeah. The and then the other thing that they've just done a great job with, I don't know if you saw, did you see the on-field um footage of like right after the game, midfield, where Peyton Bowen walks by as they're celebrating the win?
uh I guess so. I don't
Like
think so.
they're like dabbing it all up. Everybody's like, we did it, all this stuff. Peyton Bowen, true freshman. We ain't done. We ain't done yet. We're not like this ain't it. Like not celebrating. Like literally saying, everybody shut up. Go back to the all access pass when they're in the locker room. And BV says we're 6-0. And it's Grayson Halton standing right there on the outside in the camera shot that says, that ain't it. We're not done. We have more work to do. Like we'll see. Maybe
It'll be good. Like honestly, the bye week is good because there's a couple of guys that are a little nicked up still.
Yes.
Obviously, we haven't talked about one thing we didn't talk about because it just came out, I think, yesterday or day before about Angel Anthony having
Yeah.
season-ending
Ugh.
surgery, which really sucks. But but yeah, you have a couple guys nicked up, but it's like I'm just ready to see us go out and man, if this team can come out and dominate, then because that's another thing that I think people are scared of is again, it's that PTSD moment of are we gonna have won this big game and then come out and lay an egg? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, what's it
Right.
gonna look like? And if they come out dialed in, it's like, bro,
Well, look, I will continue to say this, and I know for everybody that's riding high as an OU fan, they're gonna throw all their shade at me that I'm Dark Daryl, blah blah. But let's be honest, like this roster, from a talent standpoint, is not where Texas is. From a talent standpoint, we are not where Texas is. From a SEC ready roster, we are not there yet. But the culture and the mentality is, right? And so I think that's one of the reasons that everybody's fearful, because I still look at this defensive line and go, you got guys, but you don't have dudes,
yeah,
right? You don't just have a dude on that defensive line, right? Like as I think Stutzman's a dude. Canic's not a dude. He's figuring it out, and maybe next year he takes that step, but he's
I
not.
I, I
Kip
still make
Lewis
the
was
argument.
as much of a dude as Canic was. Like that goal line stand dude. Kip Lewis is everywhere.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I think even Kobe McKenzie could be that dude. When he gets a little bit of a
Maybe
shot.
now
I
Bowen
mean,
and Gentry, dudes, but
yeah,
Pearson, you know, Key Lawrence, like not bad. Like they're really good players, but we're just not like you look at Georgia, man, and just from a stinking just freak, standpoint, like dude. I mean, they're just loaded with those dudes, right? So I think that's one of the reasons that people are scared a little bit of them letting down. But I just don't think from a mentality standpoint, this group's going to let down, which coming back to that talent discrepancy, right? So I think Texas fans know that they're more talented. I think that's fair. I think they are well
but
aware of that.
but can I just preface all this by saying Texas has been more talented for 20 something years. I mean,
Facts. Facts. And that's one of the reasons I'm frustrated by the narratives coming out. Like it was really funny. Like if you think about it, about the hour to 2 hours right after the game, I thought most Texas fans said that was a great game. Kudos OU. We'll see you in the Big 12 championship. But as time has gone along, right, now the narrative is Texas dominated the game and just gave it away, right?
yeah,
OU's
I don't.
defense was trash because it gave up 500 yards. This is Texas just playing down to their competition. It's like, bro, look,
I mean, this is one thing again. Well, go ahead. You finish your thought, and I'll say something.
my thought is simply that I'm not going to sit here and deny that Texas left points on the board. They did,
Mm-hmm.
100% they did. But OU left points on the board. Like to me, if both teams played a clean game,
Right.
this is going to come down to the fourth quarter. Who has the ball last? What defense has to make a stand, and who just makes the plays? I think this is a one-score game if they play again. Now, I've already said whoever won on Saturday, I think has a disadvantage in the Big 12 championship game. But I still think it's a war. I think it's a one-score game if everybody plays right.
I will say this. I will say this because obviously some of the guys have heard the doubt, right? Like there was,
Yeah.
I mean, that was in the video,
Yeah.
and here's the thing. A lot of those guys, like they're getting it's getting filled back up. You
Yep.
had what's his name? I can't remember. Josh. What's his
Josh
last
Pate.
name? Yeah, there you go. Like he had Texas ranked like 4 spots ahead of OU even after.
Yes, but I went and did some more research on that. He uses some kind of BCS analytical system to do all, like it's a completely data driven computer program
Well,
model.
it doesn't really matter. And then you had did you see, but I don't know if we talked about it. You saw, did we talk about in the last pod about the Mizzou grad that's a
The
AP
Mizzou
voter.
grad that writes for Syracuse that still put Texas in front because we didn't beat them by more than 3, but we beat them by more than 3. And
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, yeah, it's I don't know. Anyways, they're getting it. There's going to be plenty of doubt. So it's like the one way that I could see OU just coming out and like you said, I agree with you. Watching the game again, like I said, OU left points on the board. Texas did or left points on the field. So did Texas. Um, I think in my mind from watching the game again, which I've only watched it once, I would say that like at most OU won by 10 instead of 4, or maybe like 10 to 14, somewhere in that neighborhood, right? Um, but not any more than that. Like I've seen people be like, "Oh, it would have should have been 50." It's like, no, it wouldn't have been 50.
no.
But but yeah, I mean, the only way I can see them coming out and like dominating Texas in the conference championship game if they meet up is to keep giving them that bulletin board material. Put them as an underdog in the game. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Put them as make Texas a 5-point favorite again. Just keep doubting. It's the same thing that we saw. I mean, what's funny is it's what we saw in the early Stoops era, right? Like when they won the 2000
Mm-hmm.
national title, nobody. I remember I was just old enough. I was like 13 in 2000 when they were when that was going down 12 or 13 or whatever.
Right.
And so I was just old enough to remember, but it was like everybody was like, "Oh yeah, Florida State's gonna win it, dude. Like it's not even
Oh
gonna be
yeah.
a game. It's not like this is gonna be a joke." And we won. Everybody was like, "Well, crap." You know what I mean? Like it was just they just used it as fuel, and they threw that back in everybody's face. So that's something we're gonna have to. I mean, I think they're gonna keep doing that. I mean, they will use that as fuel.
Yeah, and I mean, and I literally wrote this down. The narratives coming out of the Texas fan base right now, it literally sounds like Aggies.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like. It sounds very Aggie like of, well, we did that. Okay, if you guys had gotten 3 turnovers off Dylan Gabriel, how would y'all react to us going, well, Dylan Gabriel just gave y'all the football. That's not something you did, right?
Yeah.
Hey, we met like, look, yes, the 4 plays on the 1-yard line, you got to give props to OU for that. Now, do I think that happens out of 10 times? How many times does OU hold them there? Probably twice, right? The rest they get in, right? So there's 7 points, so forth, so on. But again, you take all the turnovers away, you take the block punt away, you take the drop touchdown away, and all the other things. Like, again, I think this is like a 3 to 7 point game. Like, both
I
teams
just
playing really well.
and like the other thing they've been trying to point to the officiating, and again watching the game again and just being able to watch the game, I guess not with any panic or dialing back my bias in the moment sort of thing. Honestly, it's one of those weird. It was a weird game when I watched it again because it's a very, I would say it's a poorly called game, but it's not poorly called in anybody's favor, right? Like there was a ton of missed calls, and
Yeah,
there was
I
a
didn't.
but what I mean is it wasn't like, oh, there was 10 missed calls for OU and 1 for Texas. It was like they would miss a whole slew for Oklahoma and then they'd miss a whole slew for Texas. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? Like it was a very weirdly called game. And that's what it's funny to me is because they try to point out like, oh, well, this should have been a hold or this should have been this. And I'm like, guys, like, Quinn Ewers definitely, he's literally completely over the line of scrimmage
Yeah,
throwing that ball on the sideline. That doesn't even get reviewed. There's a ton of holding penalties that got missed. There's even a couple of pass interference. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like we can go round and round about the officiating. I don't feel that was a factor in the game because
I
it
didn't
both
think
teams.
there was.
It was poor. It was
Look,
poor. It was poor, but it
I
wasn't
didn't.
poor
I
in
don't.
favor of anybody. Is what I'm saying.
I don't even think it was poor, to be honest. I thought the officiating was fine across the board. I thought the only thing that was poor was, like you said, there's a there's a fumble called on the field, right? That even the professional referee guy in the booth is going, man, like, because it's called this on the field, I think you got to kind of stick with it because there's enough movement there. It's kind of hard to tell if he has possession and it stays, which is fine. It's a coin flip, right? But then let's not review if Quinn Ewers stepped over the line, which everybody could see live. He was very close, if not over the line. But yet we do review an Andrell Anthony catch that nobody questioned. Like nobody questioned what, like even the announcer, like why are we
2 feet
reviewing
down.
this?
Yeah.
Like what are we doing? You review a pitch that literally he throws the ball backwards, but his momentum carries the ball forward, but you somehow, like, nobody saw that in real
Well,
time.
and
Nobody.
and like that's my thing. Is like it was one of those things where and I don't want to hang up on this too long, but it's like the Quinn Ewers throw, I'm like, it wasn't even close, actually. Like if you go back and watch it and pause it from the moment that the ball leaves his hand, he not only is he completely across the line, his whole body is probably a yard past the
Yes.
line.
And that's what I'm
Like
saying.
and
Like it didn't even get looked at.
yeah,
But plays that live looked completely clean. Like when I saw that play, I thought, I think he's across the line. But I wasn't sure, but it was worth a review. But then all the rest of these that, like, again, we're just cut and dry, like done deal. Oh no, we're gonna review that. I don't know,
yeah,
we're gonna review that. Now again, I thought for the most part they got all the calls mostly right,
yeah,
or
yeah.
it was close enough to whatever, but it was just interesting. So if you're going to complain about anything, it sure felt like they were trying to find a reason to find stuff against OU. So I thought the game was officiated fine and not a big deal. By the way, speaking of another locker room deal, I forgot to bring this up. So our man K Marabian, call me R over at Bud Bob Berry and Beer Podcast. So one of the things that Danny Stutzman talked about on the Pat McAfee show today was how the boss on the sideline was coming over to him and going, "Hey, you got to start watching this." And he was like, "Dude, that's a guy that revolutionized linebacker. When he tells you to watch something, you listen to him." You know what I mean? And so he was kind of giving the boss credit for seeing things in the game and letting him know. Hey, Kamiar put this on Twitter. Wonder who kept Boz away from the program and why? Question mark. Uh, I mean, he ain't wrong, man. Like the the thought that those guys were not allowed to come back and be a part of this program is insane to me.
Yeah.
It's insane to me.
Well, I
And
mean,
yes, like
think about, okay, let's look at like even a more recent thing, right? Like David Stone. Okay. You think, I mean,
yeah,
there's a good chance he commits to OU, but Gerald McCoy was in his DMs so deep, getting him to come to OU and communicate, basically almost being like feeling like he was the liaison to OU through the process.
right.
And even you saw like interactions with Gerald and the staff on Twitter and all kinds of stuff. You didn't see that. And it's like, why? Like, you think a kid like David Stone doesn't know who freaking Gerald McCoy is, that grew up
Yeah,
in Oklahoma? You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, why would you not leverage that?
It's so ridiculous, which is a great segue to some more stupidity from Mr. Riley. Not only did he not want the boss on sidelines or in his locker room, he didn't want Teddy Lehman, his own color analyst for the radio show at practices, who also won a Butkus Award. He didn't want Gabe Eichert around practices. But now, switching more to general college football for a moment, Lincoln Riley was asked yet again about his defense that gave up over 40 points to Arizona. Lincoln Riley says the media made up their minds before the season ever started that the minute that this defense had a little bit of adversity, that we were going to need to make a change. Like, bro, went
Dude,
on like a
I'm
two and
telling
a
you,
half minute tirade.
dude, I'm telling you, Alex Grinch is on like the freaking title to the Rolls Royce or something. Like, there's some reason he keeps Grinch around. I don't know, bro. Like, what a trash situation.
It
But yeah,
it
and then like
literally
Lincoln.
it literally has to be that Grinch just says, just leave me alone and let me do my defensive stuff, and I'll leave you alone and let you do offensive stuff.
Yeah,
Like it
and I
has
mean,
to be.
and again, what regardless of how this season, the rest of the season goes, they're already OU's already bowl eligible. So, I at
Yeah.
this point, like, I want to go as far as we can go, but there's physicality. You don't see that at USC. I mean, it was the same. It literally, you could have photoshopped OU jerseys onto those players, and I wouldn't have been able to tell a difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whenever
100%.
Grinch and Riley were here. I mean, it was missed tackles. It was dudes getting. I mean, there was a play where it was like a D lineman got pretty much trucked by a running back. You know, I mean, like it's just there's no physicality. They don't know how. And it's like you said, I think maybe it's a little bit of that Grinch is okay with let's not blow each other up in practice. Let's not have contact. Everybody put on a blue jersey. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things. But I mean, yeah, Lincoln is a joke, man.
Hey, but here's another thing though. So while we rail against Lincoln all the time, we also have to own. And I texted Troy this today when that whole clip came out, and I asked him if he had seen it, and he said yeah. And I said, here's the deal, man. And like his after the game, right, against Arizona, when he's in his press and he's like, the defense won us this game, right? The defense is what won us this game. And I'm like, I mean, here's the thing though. He said that kind of crap here when and we believed it too. We were like, he's not wrong. The offense was struggling in the first half, and the defense is what kept us in it, right? Now, I will say, Lincoln's last year here, the first 4 games of that season, the defense did win us some ball games, right? They absolutely did. But man, like, yes, that's what's like everything that he is saying and everything that is happening at USC right now is what happened to him in year 4 and year 5 of being here.
Yeah.
It's already on him right now. It is
Well,
already on it. And he better pray to God he finds a incredible transfer quarterback. Because if he doesn't, the wheels are going to fall off real fast.
Yeah, Caleb absolutely willed them to win that game at the end. Yeah, I mean,
which standing ovation to Caleb Williams, dude. Like the nickname Superman. I mean, as good as Kyler was, Baker, like we are getting to watch something incredible as just pure college football fans with Caleb Williams. That dude
I
is
honestly,
I
said this.
nature.
I said this when Caleb left. I hate USC with every part of my being now, because of Lincoln Riley and all the stuff that he said and done. But like, I'll still cheer for Caleb. Like, I want Caleb to succeed. If he wants another Heisman, cool.
Yeah.
You know, right now, like I said, he's a generational talent. I don't use that lightly. Just as a player as a whole. You know, when you watch like Kyler, even Kyler, it's like he's maybe, you know, his arm is pretty good. He's generally like athletically or what, you know, it's like there's things about them that you could say were generational, but like Caleb as like a whole package is pretty generational.
Yeah.
So yeah, without him, it's like as what we were talking about that I said, without Caleb, I don't know, like as good as apparently Malachi Nelson might end up being, I don't see how he could be Caleb unless he's Caleb Williams. He ain't winning that game. Like he ain't beating Arizona. But yeah, I mean, it was one of those things that it's like it's really frustrating because it's like one of those. Well, technically, it's correct that their defense won the game because they did play a little bit better in the end of the game. But it's like, dude, like that's after that they got completely, like you said, destroyed by Arizona, whose only championship hopes are in partying. Like,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it was a joke. And then, you know, now, and then you saw the clip today, didn't you, of the punts, the punt simulation getting ready for Notre Dame,
spraying it with water to simulate the rain.
Yeah, with a freaking like a
Roundup
pest
sprayer.
control, yeah, like a pest controller thing. And I'm like, yeah, that's gonna definitely simulate. And what's funny is like I actually saw like completely serious USC fans being like, it's so smart that our coach is doing it. And I'm like you think getting sprayed with a insecticide bottle is equivalent to getting a downpour in South Bend? You think that's okay? Whatever. Anyway, sorry. The cope is real. The copium among USC fans are actually getting more worn out with the whole Grinch thing. I've seen a lot more of them be negative and worn out about it. I mean, they're basically where OU fans were in like year 4. I'd say Lincoln Riley speed running his way into being in the same position he was at OU.
That's what I was saying earlier. Everything he's saying right now is what he was saying the last year and a half at OU.
Yeah. But you know, like I said, it's the same. Texas is too. It was a great week, man. It's been a great week. This has been one of those weird weeks where I get on social media and I feel good about myself. Like I'm like, oh man, this is give me the Twitter feed.
Think about this very quickly, and then we'll leave the Tebow talk alone. If Caleb Williams isn't on this roster and OU has to run with Spencer Rattler through the whole season of Lincoln's last year.
Oh man, it's maybe it's probably 6-7 at best.
I mean, that's what you need to process. As a USC fan, you need to think about that.
Yeah.
Because OU was barely beating Tulane, and we were losing our minds. We were getting trounced by Texas, and Caleb Williams showed up and literally put his freaking Superman cape on and rescued the day and led OU through the rest of that season to a bunch of wins that if it's Spencer Rattler playing quarterback, you do not get. Lincoln Riley loses 4 to 5 games that season.
Yep.
If it's Spencer Rattler,
yep.
right? And that is exactly where USC is now, except that Caleb obviously transferred and he is willing this team to victories. And the guy just, it's unreal. And then like the Comiar tweet just highlights he cannot deal with criticism and he cannot deal with being questioned. He cannot deal with not believing he's not the smartest guy in the room. That's why he can look at the press today and go, oh, our defense is fine. You guys just wanted to create a narrative.
Right.
Are you come on now? Like, but that's what he wants to say because he's got his structure set up and he's the smartest guy in the room and it's ridiculous. So, anyways, that's all. It's a great week. We'll get to lay low this week.
The only one last thing before we wrap up the football talk: do not, under any circumstances, watch that hype video before you go to bed, or else you're gonna like watch it 5 more times and not sleep. So,
I woke up Evan and I airplayed it to our television and made her watch it last night.
Yeah, I've sent it to a bunch of people and they're like, I don't even care about college football, but
I was like, I saw her on her phone and I was like, you're not asleep, right? She's like, no. And I was like, okay, put that away. You have to watch it. Like you have to watch it.
What is all the what's the criteria to get an Oscar? Because they need one for that movie.
Maybe is that an Emmy? Is that what that would be though?
Dude,
I don't know.
That's got to be. I mean, like I said, it blown up on Twitter. It's 8.5 million views pretty much right now. Like that's just wild. So
that is wild. So, well, the other thing going on in Oklahoma sports right now is the Thunder played their first preseason game. It was kind of the NBA what's the word I'm looking for? Premiere of Chet Holmgren a little bit because if you remember, he got hurt during Summer League last year, so he was out the entire season, no preseason, anything. And not only that, it's against San Antonio, so it was him and Wemby, right? Chet had a pretty good night, 7 of 10 from the field, 2 of 2 from 3-point range, had 9 total rebounds, 1 assist, 1 block, and only 1 foul for 21 points, 9 rebounds, 1 assist in the game. Jalen Williams starts out crazy cold and then basically comes in and just starts dunking on everyone's head all over the place. It was incredible to watch. Josh Giddey, not a great shooting night, 5 of 12. Dort, 4 of 6 and 2 of 4. 2 of 4 from 3, 4 of 6 from the field. Looked really good. And then Davis Bertans, 4 of 6, and that's all 3-pointers. 4 of 6 from 3-point range. That's nice. And you've got Lindy Waters had a decent game. And I'd even say Cason Wallace had some really nice moments throughout the game as well. So, Jared, you get to watch any highlights? I know in Orlando, it's kind of hard to find the games, that kind of stuff. But anything that you saw or got to take away or enjoyed watching through the game?
Yeah, I'm not going to get to see probably like any games this year unless they're like prime time. Yeah, I mean, it was Chet looks good. I mean, it was kind of funny because like a lot of the stuff I was seeing was, oh, we get to see Wemby finally and all that sort of stuff. And it's like, I mean, Wemby's gonna be really good. There's no doubt about that. But like you said, Chet did what he needed to do. Chet played solid, he played efficient. And like you said, Jalen Williams, to be able to course correct and be able to perform is just phenomenal. I mean, I think the thing that people have to realize, because like I've seen like crazy things where people are like, "Oh, the San Antonio Spurs are going to go deep in the playoffs because they have Wemby," and I'm like, when you look at a roster as a whole, when I watched that game and I looked at the roster as a whole for each team, which team did I think would have a chance of making any sort of run in the playoffs? Because it wasn't San Antonio, in my opinion. Just because out of pure depth, like, you know what I mean? Like Wemby's great, but like he can't play all 5 positions for the entire game. Right. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I honestly, it's like the amount of depth that Presti has built is just crazy. Like, I mean, I know this is preseason, so some of it you have to take with a grain of salt, but it's like you have guys out there that are making impacts in the regular season that have already shown that they can make impacts in the regular season. You know, Chet's going to make an impact. And we're not even talking about SGA. We're not even talking about Giddy. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much that we're not even talking about, and there's so much good coming out of preseason.
Right. And, I think one of the things that I really enjoyed watching the game is seeing how well Chet played with no Shea on the floor.
Yeah.
Right. And so the amount of attention that Shea will draw is only going to open up Chet that much more on the floor. So to see him play that well, which by the way, Chet only played 16 minutes in this game and had 9 rebounds. Wemby played for 19 minutes, had 5 rebounds. At 7'4", only had 5 rebounds in the game. Did score 20 points. Did have 2 steals, had a block, no assists. So, I mean, the other side of that is these 2 guys, if they stay healthy, is going to be really fun to watch.
Yeah.
The war of Wemby and Chet is they looked very similar outside of the fact that you can tell that Wemby is 3 inches taller than Chet, which is just crazy. But it's going to be fun. I agree with you. The depth of the Thunder's crazy, and I was really hoping Troy would get to join us tonight because, man, we've talked so much about the way that Presti has constructed this roster. You could literally have 5 elite defenders on the floor and just literally, like, Dagnall can just be like, choke them out. I don't want them to score more than 3 points over the next 20 minutes, and they could do it. You can put shooters all over the floor and just play the whole 4 wide and cut and do the thing. Like, you can do, there is just they can go small ball. They can go, big boy ball. It's just the amount of things that they can put on the floor because they have so many players is crazy.
Here's something I want to highlight, and I want Troy to, the next time he is able to come on, I want to mention it to him again. Which I didn't even roast him about what I was going to roast him about earlier. I will after all this. But like I said, you think about it too. You talk about Shea, you talk about Chet being on the floor together, and how that's going to open things up for each of them. Like Giddy, you think Giddy's not going to have more opportunities too, and he's not going to be able to do. I mean, throw Giddy in that mix, and that's a whole other catalyst. You know what I mean? Like, this is just one of those teams that I feel like they're getting to that point where it's like, I don't think like Giddy's an elite scorer or anything like that. But at the same time, it's like, it's getting to that point where you have to try to somehow respect everybody on the floor. But you're going to have to find a way to double team too. Like, you don't think you can just you can go up 1-on-1 with Shea or with Chet. I mean, they're going to pick you apart if you do that, but you're going to have to respect Giddy and everybody else on the floor. So that's where they're at. I mean, they're not really, they're not like super weak at any position, as I guess I would say that, even if they play positionless basketball.
Correct. And that's what was kind of cool. Another big takeaway for me, just in the little bit and pieces of between the radio and just kind of bouncing in, getting to watch some here. Dort, if Dort plays like he did in that preseason game, because what he did was he didn't force anything. He played his role. And as Chet and Jalen Williams and Giddy got the attention, when he had wide open looks, he took them. And that's why he was so efficient from the floor. I mean, 4 of 6, 2 of 4, 4 of 4 from the free throw line. Like, if we can get that kind of offensive production from Dort with still his incredible defensive presence on the floor, man, that changes so much for this team. And then, like you said, then if he does that, you're adding another layer of the respect level that teams have to give him. So even though they might be shading towards Shea or shading towards Giddy or Williams or Chet, they have to stay close, which again just spreads everything out, right? And makes everything so much more open. And I thought the way he allowed the game to come to him was really cool to watch.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing with even Giddy and Dort to me is they've had those moments where it's like they light it up and you're like, holy crap. And then they have a little bit more with Dort where it's like, then there's times where it feels like he disappears on half the court. You know what I mean? Like, he's got to be more consistent. But again, you have to also remind, like, I think the thing we keep forgetting is that they're a freaking young team, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
Usman
mean,
Jang, I mean, dude is only like, I think 18 years old or something crazy like that, and is now like 6'11". He's like grown another inch or two. Um, I still don't think Giddy can buy a beer. Pokashevsky can't buy a beer. Um, Chet might be able to.
but I mean,
Um,
but they also, I mean, the thing is like the the thing that I really want to see going, like I'm excited to see, is kind of the same thing we like about the Sooners team is they really like to play together. Like they really seem to
yeah,
enjoy, you know what I mean? Like they all have a very, like you can tell that they have that brotherhood in the locker room, and so they play. I think
yeah,
that always like turns that dial a little bit for some of them. So
yeah,
I want to see what they play
no
like when
doubt.
they're together.
For sure. And look, I'm telling you right now, if you're listening to this podcast and maybe you're a fringe NBA person or just somebody that doesn't, um, like you're not just rabid about the NBA, but you like it, buy your tickets right now. If you can get a single game ticket, you better do it right now, because if this team does what we think it's going to this year, the ticket prices are just going to go up and up and up and up and up. I think you're going to see a very fun, great basketball product with this team. I just can't wait to see how they choose to move the pieces of this roster around and use it to their advantage, and what that looks like and how they end up. It should be
I'm
pretty stinking fun.
I am ready. I'm actually hoping that I can go catch a Magic game when the Thunder are here. Like I want to see the Magic and the Thunder play.
Oh, that'd be
Um,
awesome.
so but can I, while we're on the, like I know are you done talking Thunder? You want to talk a little bit more? You
Yeah, no,
ready?
no, no. We're good. We're good.
Okay. Well, two things that I want to talk about. One, I just wanted to roast, since this is the section that Troy would listen to and would want to chime into. Troy, I made a bet with you that Oklahoma's scoring defense would be one of the top in the country. And I said that they would. We came up to the agreement that if they held teams to 17 points or less, I don't even remember what the bet was, but the bet was 17 points or less. OU, after facing their toughest opponent and giving up the most points they've given all season, I want you to get, Daryl, how many points of average do you think they've given up this year? What's their points per game?
15.7.
No,
Oh,
14.
I have no idea.
14
What?
on the dot. So, and like I said, you look at this, you look at the rest of the conference schedule. This is what I said. Like Kansas,
Oh my
what teams scare you to put up a bunch of points? Kansas, maybe
Kansas.
if Daniels is good, because he's not playing this week.
Even with Bean, they will score. Even with Bean, they will score points. They're
Yeah,
good offensively. They're
Oklahoma
really
State,
bad.
Oklahoma State had a good game against Kansas State, even though I'd say like Kansas State more shot themselves in the foot a bunch. But yeah, I just want to highlight that Troy, you may owe me one. You may owe me one. I don't even remember. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to the pod because I don't remember what the bet was. It was something pretty crazy.
Yeah, we
Um,
do need to go back and find that one.
but yeah, so and then the second thing is a little baseball. Our Stros, baby, go Stros. Astros won the ALDS today. So hyped about that. It was a really good game. It was, I actually watched the whole game. It was 3-2 for like the last like 3 innings. So like, and it was funny because everybody's like, this is gonna be like, all the predictions were like it's gonna be like 10-5, and like it's gonna be a higher scoring game. It's 3-2. So and I didn't even realize this. They have like all these records they're breaking for like most consecutive playoff appearances, and now it's like, there was one that they were talking about on the broadcast that it's like if they win like just 2 games in uh the ALCS, that it's like they'll have more wins in like that span of time. It's like, it's just, I don't know, it's just crazy that they're actually become such a good franchise. And before people were like, "Oh, you're Astros fan," no, like we grew up Astros fans. Our dad took us to games when we were little. I remember watching the Killer Bees, which was Biggio, Bagwell, and Berkman.
Yep.
And then it's like, then we had what, like 10, 15 years of just trash, like 10 years of just trash. They were
Yep.
literally the worst team in the MLB for like a decade.
It was
So
pretty
anyways,
bad.
so go Stros, baby, go Stros. They're gonna play
Go
the Rangers.
Stros.
and we all hate Texas.
Yeah.
So just remember one more time right here.
Let's go. Let's
But yeah,
go.
everything Texas. So yeah, let's we'll I guess we'll mention that a little bit on the pod when we go forward.
Yeah. And then also we are on commit watch this week with Michael Boganowski, who's going to be committing. I think it's between us and Kansas State. You haven't had a chance to go watch his footage. Pretty fun. He's kind of an athlete guy. Nobody really knows for sure where he's going to play. I've seen some say safety. I've seen some say linebacker. I've seen others say tight end. I mean, he's just a guy that can be in a lot of different spots and is just a ball player. So it'll be interesting to see. But
Well,
this
and
is
then
one that OU's wanted for a while.
how do you say his name? The England kid. He's also committing tomorrow.
Oh, Akamuni?
Akaname or something like that.
Economics. I don't know. Something.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's I gotta commit now.
Akankumi.
Yeah.
I think that's how you
Yeah,
say
you
it.
probably
But
mispronounced it, and now he's listening to this podcast right now and is like, no, never mind, I'm not going there.
Yeah. And you got Eddie Pierre Louis, who, by the way, is a very fascinating prospect that continues to get crystal ball to OU as well. Let me look this up very quickly because this is great podcasting. But the reason I say that he is a very fascinating prospect is he is one of these guys that the rankings are just all over the map for, and it really doesn't make sense. So I'm looking at Rivals right now. Okay. Rivals has him ranked nationally 26th, 8 in his state, and number 2 at his position. 26th nationally is where he's ranked. But if you go to 247, and you look at his profile there, I want to say he's like 150. Let's see. Tampa Catholic 247. He is, according to 247s, he's 43rd interior lineman. So 41 spots lower. And they have him ranked 86th in Florida.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know why. I don't know what that's like, but that's one of the reasons when you look at the composites and things, he's not necessarily that high. He's 6'3", 335 pounds. He comes from the same high school as Lewis Carter. I don't know what Lewis Carter's strength program is, but if Eddie Pierre Louis is on even a third of that, I'm down with this guy being a lineman for us. That's for dang sure. He's got offers from UCF, Alabama, Oklahoma, Oregon, and so forth, so on. If OU can land him, which, by the way, we have said the interior offensive line is where we are weak. We need this kid. It would be great to get him, be a great addition to the class as well. So all those guys kind of on commitment watch, and to get 2 offensive linemen that are interior guys right now would be really, really good for Oklahoma for sure. So
yeah. Which, by the way,
an eye on them.
Next game is going to be OU UCF. So I'm deep in enemy territory. I mean, I'm not only in Orlando, I'm living on the side of the city of where UCF is. And you know what? One thing I'll give UCF is when you're on this side of town, it feels like a college town. Like this whole side is just UCF crap everywhere.
That's funny.
And so, I mean, you see like the tags, you see, you know what I mean? There's flags, people are flying flags everywhere. So I'm actually going to try to get, I got to go buy like one of the flagpole things. I'm going to put it in, I'm going to hang my OU flag, I think, on the front. Nice. I haven't done it yet. I keep putting it off. So, but I was like, I've got to this week. So, or next week. Yeah.
Next week for sure. So, well, that's all we've got for tonight. So again, please like and subscribe if you enjoyed doing all this stuff. Leave us a comment and a review. Interact with us, man. Find us on Twitter, Just Okay Sport. Hit us up there. You can email us at justoksports@gmail.com. Again, YouTube channel, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that stuff. Find us anywhere. We'd love to interact with you. We are not journalists. We are just guys talking sports, and we are having a great time. We hope you are too. I'm Daryl. That's Jared, and we will talk to you guys later.
Bye, Baker.